Hey guys, we are going to be talking about Sora's performance over the weekend and also some of the impacts that it may have led to. Anyway, let's just jump straight into the article. 23% of the total units were sold as of Monday 6 p.m. Average selling price 2160 PSF, which is actually quite high considering the fact that there are still some units in the 1009 to 2000 plus range in OCR regions, but this is Jurong Lakeside and it's already transacted 2160. Later we'll have a quick look at how the rest of the market is responding because of this. But total 440 units, 320 were launched, but 100 plus were sold. Large majority were for the 1-2 bidders, which are more of like a investment. I wouldn't say all of them are buying just for investment, but a bigger majority, I would say. And generally is about in the sweet spot of below the $2 million budget. It's like people who want to get into the market, but they can't really go up too much, or rather not too comfortable with going up too much into the quantum game. And the funny thing, unlike what many of the typical crowd thinks, is that 30% of the buyers are only 30% are coming from Jurong and Clementi. Majority of market observers would have think that maybe a large majority of these buyers are coming from Jurong, they love Jurong, or maybe they are staying at the lakeside there, but not really the case. If you go and the thing is that they don't really publish the address available for us to see, but if you go and have a look and you're on the ground, you more or less know that it's not really the case anymore. It's just it doesn't mean that the east side projects are being bought by the east side people. The west side projects are only being bought by the west side. It comes from anyway. It really depends on where the opportunities are, whether people are logical enough to go and explore out of their comfort zone rather than just sticking to whatever they feel comfortable previously or rather all along. And typically OCR kind of regions, you don't really have foreigners coming in to shake the market. It's not like a CCR region where you have a large majority. Last time, I wouldn't say large majority, okay, quite a sizable proportion of purchases being foreigners, and hence resulting in the I would say rather unpredictable nature in the CCI, and that's why we don't really encourage for people who can't really afford to lose the money to go into that region because it's too much of a uncertainty ongoing there. Over here, it seems like nowadays there's quite a lot of choices, right? A lot of people think that it is a lot of choices. There are quite a lot of choices. Let's just be clear. There are a lot of choices, but whether there are choices for appreciation potential, that's gonna be another issue. Previously, Lake Garden was sold also just nice about 23% on the launch weekend, but now it has transacted. I think it's about already 50% already, about 50% sold currently so far. It doesn't mean that when it's launched then it doesn't perform well, then this project is doomed to fail. It's too early to say. A lot of people think that way, and then they panic how it's gonna be like this. Usually, if the project has nothing too bad, nothing too wrong, and it's not priced super ridiculously high profit margin, eventually it will move because of market forces. Whatever you see today may seem expensive. It's like previously, when I remember when G-Scape was first launched back in 2018 to 2019 period, people were saying that it's so expensive. It's right. I remember the chauffeur was very close to Junction 8, and people were saying it's so expensive, why would people buy that one? And now people are buying G-Scape at 2002, 2003 PSF. Imagine that time people are saying expensive, now people are buying like it's hot cake. The number of transactions there is quite ridiculous for especially but it's a mega development, so it's kind of expected. But the point is that whatever you see today may not be as expensive tomorrow, and that is how it generally works. That's why developers, they have a typical time frame of 5 years to sell, right? They usually don't panic that early unless they overprice it from the start, which we see some of the developments currently they are approaching the ABSD deadline. It's usually most of the time it's either the developers bid the land too bloody expensive, or they price the products way too high at a premium. And then this causes the result of units not exactly moving, and that's why they have to do whatever they need to do, fire sale or whatever nonsense. But that is really depending on the location and also the developer strategy. Hopefully, in the first place, you must be able to tell whether is it the developers are doing the right thing in the first place lah. And how do you tell? You have to be able to observe the market long enough to know ma. So if not, then you have to find somebody to help you look out for, and which is definitely some of the things that I do for my clients as well. Jaden, on the other hand, sold 90%. As of end June, average selling price 2451 PSF. This is definitely one of the reasons why Sora is daring to launch at this kind of pricing. It is not cheap. Okay, it's definitely. I'm not the typical guys on YouTube telling you, hey, the DOCR is cheap at 2,100 plus. It's not cheap. In fact, this kind of pricing back in 2017, you can get multi-modern if I remember correctly. But the thing is that how come it has moved so much? Because you need to know that the market back in 2017 and market today in 2024, and also if you adjust for inflation and everything else that has happened ever since, a lot has changed. And that is how the market has been, or rather will be also. Then we take a look at some of the highest PSF already transacted for Sora. I already break out the exact unit, but you more or less know which one is it, for those of you who know the market lah. Then highest already transact 2,500. That's like Lentor Modern. A lot of people think that Lentor is the time when they launch expensive. I still think it's expensive. Let's just not deny it. It is still expensive. Why this guy is willing to pay 2,500 for a 2-bidder in Sora is beyond my understanding. But the fact is that somebody already transacted, and this second guy is quite close. So it seems that people have already settled down to the thinking that OCR is going to be this kind of pricing already. I'm not saying that, of course, that all these units are going to be, all the Sora units are priced at this, but there are people already willing to accept this price level. And then thereafter, will this open up the floodgate of people coming in? Because there are people already buying at this price. Then what is the price that I'm getting in? Is 2,000, 2,001 for OCR considered too much of a pricing, or is it actually reasonably priced? So that is how generally the market slowly shifts in terms of its thinking. Then we compare to Lake Garden. If you look at the quantum, we look at the smaller and the bigger ones. Sora, I didn't pull out the bigger ones because they never really transact. Like I said, just because they don't really transact the bigger units doesn't mean that it's not going to move. It may still end up moving. Whether it's going to take how long, that one we don't know. It really depends on how the developer adjusts its pricing strategy as well. I don't approve. I don't think their present pricing strategy is going to work. But eventually it will. When they need to move it, they will move it. They are very seasoned developers. They know what to do. This is not their first project in the market, of course. Lake Garden Residences, the bigger units already transact 3.5 million for this sizing. 3.5 million for 2,300 plus PSF. So can you imagine? I would say most people when they look at 3.5 plus million for a Lake Garden 99 year, they will be shocked. They'll be thinking, I know a lot of people will be still thinking, why 3.5 don't buy landed? 3.5, let's just be clear, 3.5 you may be able to buy a very, very old landed only for the land. But will you be willing to pay $3.5 million to stay in a very, very old house, maybe 40 plus years old, without revamping the whole thing? Because we know costs have increased drastically. To rebuild a landed, it costs $1.5 to $2 million cash, and you're not even talking like luxury fittings. $1.5 million to $2 million additional cash on top of buying the 3.5 million. Then that's a simple reason why people are still buying into condo at this kind of quantum. Because I myself had thought about it. I really don't have so much cash, unfortunately. Okay, I hope I do. Maybe if I strike Toto, everything. But there is only enough Toto for to rebuild. I don't even have enough for the land. That's just assuming that I can get that $1.8 million total, right? Unless I strike the $5 million total, then it's a totally different thing. But for those people who are thinking, you need to think ahead. Why are people not getting into that? And even if you do, then put yourself in their shoes. If you're buying into that land, will you be willing to spend $3.5 million to stay in a very, very old house without doing anything else? So that is where people start going back into the condos. Right, then so sometimes it's not so foolproof or not so straightforward as most people think it is. As for PSF wise, Lake Garden already hit 2,400 plus as compared to Sora. Somehow Sora has already hit higher even on the launch day. Lake Garden not yet for the smaller unit, but it's already quite close to 2,400 plus. $1.8 million for a 2-bedder in Lake Gardens. That is the kind of price level that it has hit. So if you look at how the developers are already responding, they are not sitting there waiting for things to happen. Once they see Sora having this kind of reception, people are willing to accept this kind of pricing. This is basically what is expected. And we have seen this over the years, over the past 2-3 years, 3-4 years, over and over again. When you have new benchmark from the OCR or the RCR or whichever it is, as long as it's relevant benchmark for them to set upon, then they will move their prices. It's simple as that, because people will start comparing. Once they see, hey, this area, example, so right, so expensive for that location, might as well go to somewhere that is a little bit more central. Definitely not like central, but not as 偏远 or whatever it is. Then developers will move their pricing. It's simple as that. I mean, if you were the developer, you would think that way, right? It can't be, you people start thinking that your products are cheap, and then you can, hey, come lah, cheap. No lah, because people, if you know that people are going to be coming, definitely you will raise your price. So start thinking. If you want to understand how developers think, then you got to start thinking as the developer. If you were the developer, what you would do. So this is perfectly understandable. It's not like they are data right robbery, because they are not a charitable organization. They will have to do whatever they need to do to boost their stakeholders earnings, right? That's all. That's what companies are for, So don't be surprised. And then for those of you still sitting on the sidelines, you gotta know, we are not telling you to buy now, of course, but you gotta know what you are waiting for. And all these developments are all basing it upon the new OCR pricing, and then start moving. Then you gotta be sure that whatever you're waiting for, the prices are not coming down. The unit that you want is not being taken up. This is just how the market has been over and over, and we've seen this too many times to basically tell you that this is actually the truth. Some people may tell you, hey, this is how they want you to buy, Nobody's forcing you to buy. You can see always see at the sidelines. Nobody's forcing you to buy. But that is the pattern that we've seen over and over again. So this is what is going to be happening on the developer front, and hence shifting the entire market. And this will definitely trickle down to the whole entire market as well. And if you look at the property price index flash estimate of Q2, which this data has been, I would say, pretty fresh from URA. But of course, this is a flash estimate. They haven't really confirmed, but usually it's more or less the same. Along this whole way, how many times has people said, hey, the property market has peaked, prices are going to come down, it's going to have a crash? I'm very, very sure every single quarter, right, there are people saying this. There are hundreds of people, thousands of people saying that prices are going to come down. But if you don't understand the fundamentals of how the economy is, how the government measures are, how the people's earnings are, those people who are not able to afford, of course they won't be able to afford, but those people who are able to afford, what is actually happening on their job front? How come they are still able to buy despite this kind of age? And if you go and ask around, of course most people won't go and ask you won't go and ask their wages lah. But we in this line, we see the younger people are earning a higher and higher amounts of money. Not all, like I said, but those people who are able to make it, they are generally making it. And this is what we are seeing on the ground. And it's not like we kaypoh and ask them. We have to ask them because we have to help do their due diligence to make sure they are not getting into the wrong things. They rather buy into the development, buy into the unit, and then realize that their IPA is not able to pass. These are the things that we have to do for our clients to make sure the due diligence is met before we proceed for any large purchases. And this is why we are seeing things like this on the ground. So along the way, we are seeing prices moving. People, all the naysayers saying that prices are coming down. I'm not saying that prices will forever follow this pattern, but if you're asking for a crash, I think it's very, very, very unlikely. It's likely even if the things are not going to go up as well, it's just going to be stagnating, it's just going to go sideways. But if you want it to come down, it's going to take a lot of challenges, because if you're talking about 5% drop, this 5% drop maybe is like this, but how much is going to happen to the market itself is probably going to cause quite a big drama for the market to drop that much. Right? Even during the COVID period, this is the COVID period, it didn't even drop that much. So those people who are waiting for the market to drop, and also they are waiting for the right time, there is unfortunately no exact right time. You gotta know what you're doing. As long as you know what you're doing, and then you don't blame other people for not last time I should have this, last time I should have that, last time I should have listened to this. We have seen this so many times already. It's become like sometimes when we share, people think that you're just trying to get us to commit and get us to buy, that kind of thing. We're not forcing you to buy. You can go ahead and wait. The problem is that the chances of you regretting, especially in the Singaporean market, the fact is that the chances of you regretting that wait is going to be very, very high, unfortunately. So if not, then you can always just sit at the sidelines and then wait for other people to get against while you are just waiting, right? So let's just say that over all this timing, how many people I've seen telling me that and then regretting, seen too much already. So let's not continue to talk on that. Number of $1 million sold hits all-time high in June, even though it's a holiday period. But although volume dropped month on month, but you got to know that quite a lot of these guys' 15-month wait-up period has already finished, and that's why they have a lot of cash. They are sitting on the sidelines. In fact, some of my recent units are sold to downgraders. Or rather, they call it right size, not downgrade. They're right sizing, especially the lender owners. They have a lot of funds. They don't need that much space, and it's quite a hassle to be coming up and down. But they want a decent amount of space, so they will be going back to HDB for especially those that don't really need a lifestyle. They don't care about face or that kind of thing. Which we are seeing more and more of this. They are coming back to the HDB side and bringing quite a lot of money in, and that's why HDB is gonna be like this. But how long is it going to sustain? That one we don't know, because prices already up year on year 7.3%. And in case you are wondering, this is a good news for people who are trying to sell on your own, you need to realize that what is this actually for? 50 resale listings being removed for unrealistic pricing misinformation. This is actually a cooling measure. For those of you who think that best things in life come for free. Unfortunately, there's a reason why government is doing all this. So in case you haven't really realized, so let's just not continue talking about it. And those people who talking about the market is slowing down, the market, yes, it may feel like it's slowing down, but if you look at the volume of the condo, this is a condo market. If you look at the condo market is the blue color one. All these are volumes. We're not talking about the price or price. I think it's quite standard. It's been going up steadily, and then HDB side going steadily, but not as much, but still slow and steady. Then this whole bunch, what do you call it, orange, red, or reddish, whatever. So this reddish thing is the HDB volume. If you look at HDB volume, this is year 2023. This is about year 2022. It's pretty much almost the same volume. Right? They're about plus minus. You cannot have exact one. If you have exact one, then something is very weird. Then the blue ones, why I draw this line, because it's pretty much from what I see the average. If you are comparing year 2023 to year 2022, this is definitely not as fast as year 2022 and 2021. It's definitely slowed down compared to here. But this is quite comparable to this. And if you look at this part, it's almost, and we're only halfway through the year. How long more is it going to be like this? And when interest rate drops, what is going to happen? I think it's quite obvious already. So we are just waiting for that moment when the Federal Reserve gives the green light, and then everything else you kind of know what is going to be upcoming. Interest rate drops, likely economy going to start being a little bit more bullish, maybe. And then when things starts getting more bullish, wages goes up, inflation problems eventually comes back after a few years. Hopefully it's going to take a few years and not immediately. Then what will happen again and again? Because after all these are cycles. In case you're wondering, then what about the property market in Singapore? Why is it not a cycle? It's because you need to know that behind the scenes there are how many cooling measures that is regulating the market. If not, for the cooling measures, we are talking about these kind of property pricing today. Most of us won't be able to afford it. But it's because of the cooling measures, and that's why today is like this and not like this. It's simple as that. Okay, the government is the one actually watching and controlling the market, which is in a way the good thing lah. If not, then most of us won't be able to get in, like I said. So I have met some people, some of them friends, some of them clients, telling me that they are just renting, they are not buying anything. There's no wrong in doing that, but if you are worried about your assets not working hard for you and you're worried about losing money through rental, we always hear that people say that if you renting is not a good thing because it's burning away your money. It is burning away your money. It is burning away your money if you're just purely renting without any assets to back up your rental. So if you are just renting, of course, every month, let's say you pay $3,000 to $4,000 every month you pay it out, and then there's nothing other than your income trying to supplement this $4,000. Then basically, you're just throwing away $4,000 a month. But on the other hand, if you are renting, no wrong, like I said, but you bought into an appreciating asset, maybe the asset appreciates about 400,000 in 3 to 5 years. I'm not just saying 3 years, 3 to 5 years, maybe. Even it takes 5 years, okay, it's $80,000 a year. Is it enough to afford to help fund your $4,000 rental every single month? I think that's definitely more than enough, right? And in that case, it's perfectly okay to be renting, and that's why there are quite some people that are renting, but they are getting their assets to work harder for them elsewhere, because whatever you buy may not always have to be where you stay. That is how the logical investors work. And in fact, some of the highest net worth people I've seen that they don't even stay at where they own. So I think Elon Musk is a very extreme example, but we are not going to be moving into that. But if for those people who are just purely renting, you may want to consider really sitting down, doing your homework, and getting into your asset choices as soon as possible, because you will want your asset to be funding your rental. If not, you'll be burning cash every single month. Alright, and then that will be all we have for updates of Sora, and also the what's upcoming also for the market. So that will be all we have for today, and see you guys. If you have any issues and you need help, feel free to DM, and that will be all. See you. Bye bye.